this and things like that. Should be a good episode, man. Should be a good episode. And then, yeah, man, definitely some TV. So, yeah, we're going to get into it. So, all right, let's go. Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Los Def, and if you're here joining me for the first time, I'd like y'all to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Please help the channel out, man. We like to grow over here. We still rocking. It is 2023. It's the middle of the summer, 4th of July, it has passed now. I don't know how y'all feel, about fireworks and all that, but, it is what it is, but again, if you're new to the channel, and we're just going to rewind a little bit, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share the content, even amongst your friends and things like that. You celebrating the 4th of July, you need something to kind of, peruse through. You need some entertainment while that grill is fired up. You know what I mean? Get on YouTube and hit the platform. You can also follow us on Instagram, and you'll see my tag at the bottom here. And just to stay up to date, get some short clips, something that's gonna make you wanna hit the subscribe button or just check out an episode. So as y'all see, I'm here by myself today. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I did put out a BET Awards recap. I'm just talking about I'm just running down some of the winners, just some questions that I have. It was weird because I thought the BET Awards, they had like a couple different ties in terms of like actual like awards, like people, like two people won the award. And I just think, overall, I think that kind of diminishes it, but I want you to check that out and leave some feedback on that video too. I might put the tag here, the card here, so you guys can kind of see that and check that out after the episode. So speaking of the platform, right? So obviously, I said we go beyond the tweets and things like that. This is Twitter-based platform overall. Like that's where this started. That's where the name comes from. And I ain't gonna lie, man, since 2023 has started, actually the end of 2022, when Elon Musk has when he purchased Twitter, it gave me a lot of doubt, like, where the platform is going in terms of the name, in terms of everything like that. And even just how we can use Twitter, because he bought it. And he started making all these different changes. Obviously, there was a push for the verified accounts, right? We all know about that. We all know that there's this push to get people to pay for these blue checks. And I guess you get different perks and things like that. Well, the latest change that Elon Musk has announced is that they are putting tweet limits. They're putting limits on Twitter. Elon Musk, and this is from the AP, it says Elon Musk imposes daily limits on reading posts on Twitter, right? So dang, like when you think about that, you're like, yo, what the heck? Like, how are they going to limit what you can read on Twitter? Like, how do they do that, right? So this says here, it says Twitter owner Elon Musk has limited the number of tweets that users can view each day. Restrictions he described as an attempt to prevent unauthorized scraping of potential valuable data from the social media platform. So I looked up what data scraping is, and I ain't gonna lie, this is like above my knowledge and expertise in terms of technology and things like that. But data scraping, it's like it's basically saying like a website, you got like there's a lot of information on the website, and sometimes you don't have the opportunity or time to get the information and click through everything. So data scraping is a way to kind of print out like a detailed small report of what's on the website. So, and apparently there's like 3 different types of data scraping, some called report mining, some called screen scraping, and then web scraping. And again, those are really boring technical things that we could probably get into if I had like a tech podcast. But apparently that's what Elon Musk is saying. It's about data, and it's about like something that has to do also with AI and how like people are like unauthorized it's a lot of bots and things like that that are essentially taking data from it, from the website, from the platform, and making it harder for users to go through the site. So it says the site is now requiring people to log on to view tweets and profiles. It says a change in its longtime practice to allow everyone to peruse the chatter on what Elon Musk has frequently touted as the world's digital town square. It says the restrictions could result in users being locked out of Twitter for the day after scrolling through several hundred tweets. It says thousands of users complained Saturday of not being able to use the site. So in terms, so just off the bat, whatever, people, I seen a lot of tweets. People were saying like, oh, Elon Musk is telling y'all to get a life. Elon Musk is telling y'all need to go outside. And a lot of people were saying like, well, how do there's no way that you're gonna reach that limit, or if you reach that limit, like you don't have a fun existence. Like you need to do something else better with your time, which that might be the truth, whatever. But I think my thing is like, what constitutes as reading a tweet? Because there's a lot of times you just scrolling, and you might not necessarily be like reading the tweet. You're just kind of scrolling through. So it's like, if you scroll fast too much, if you're scrolling through, are you going to reach your limit before you even want to? And then I guess it would depend. I think you would have to be strategic, because a lot of times it depends on what page you're on. Like there's that For You page, and then there's the following page, and the following page is like everybody that you necessarily follow. It's more real time. The For You page is, they kind of, based off the things that you like, based off your interests, they try to like curate like what you might want to see. And the thing is, though, that stuff is not always in chronological order. Sometimes like it's something from a couple hours ago. It's something, it might be something that's brand new. But I just think that like scrolling through that type of stuff, maybe if something happened, you're trying to, some people were saying like, yo, I'm trying to keep up with all the transactions of the NBA trades and things like that. And they're like, oh, like it's gonna cut me off. But let's see the limits. It says Elon Musk elaborated on the limits Saturday, saying, and another, this is another thing we're going to talk about here real quick, but says Elon Musk elaborated on the limit Saturday, saying unverified accounts will temporarily be restricted to reading 600 posts per day, while verified accounts will be able to scroll through 6,000. Now, is that $8 a month worth reading 6,000 tweets? And then, some people were saying, well, 600 posts is still a lot. And it might be like, I'm definitely on the platform. I don't know if I'm on the platform enough for it to make a difference, but I just think it would suck that like, if I'm just scrolling through, I'm not necessarily reading these tweets. I'm just trying to find things that I like, whatever. If I'm just scrolling through and I hit my limit, I would feel a little bit cheated. Like, it's not like, I would see if like you're interacting with the content, if you're engaging with the content, you're liking stuff, you're retweeting stuff, you're quote tweeting stuff. I could see a limit being put on that type of stuff, but just simply reading, I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about that. But what do y'all think, man? Do y'all think that this is a good thing? Do you think this is a way to get people more involved in other things? Or is it, is this just a way for Elon Musk to get people to pay for the blue check, to pay for verified accounts? I don't know. A lot of people are upset though. They feel like Elon Musk is running the platform into the ground. And yeah, like I can't say that I've been necessarily happy with a lot of his moves, but you know what I mean? When you pay $44 billion for something, what you gonna do? What you gonna say? Like it's your prerogative. You get to run your company the way that you want to run it. But I think that it is just discouraging, I think, to people. And I haven't seen anybody say that they couldn't read any tweets, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that impacts the user experience. And yeah, like I want to see what that even looks like. I even want to see what it looks like to get shut down. Like I might have to just keep scrolling one day just to see like, oh snap, this is what it is, So like if you are using Twitter for a mode of communication, you know, especially through like that was a thing back in the day. We used to do subtweets, like funny subtweets and things like that. And that's how, you know, a lot of people communicated, but I'm sure that people don't do that as much anymore. It's not even fun to do it anymore, because there was a time where when you did a retweet, the whole text would come up, right? And like you could literally erase different things. So like you could make somebody quote, like it'd be like a quote tweet, and you could make it seem like they said something else, and it was funny. It was like hilarious. But I don't know, man. What y'all think about that, man? Leave a comment below. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts about this measure and what Elon Musk is doing, man. Is he, you know, does he obviously has the right, but like, do you feel like he's out of pocket for this? All right, let's switch it up though, man. So man, we're gonna get into some hip hop. And I like I said, when I did the BET recap, I haven't been able to kind of be with y'all, you know what I mean, by myself, or just even with a guest, to talk about some of these current things. So the other week, you know, we missed the Pusha T versus Jim Jones beef, right? And you know, obviously, you know, we already had some platforms like talk about it, whatever, but I'm gonna give you my opinion, man, my unadulterated opinion about it. Um, and first off, I'm gonna say that let's be real. Let's be real, man. Jim Jones was out of pocket, like for the start of this whole thing, right? Jim Jones, he's gone on several different platforms and interviews to talk about how he doesn't think that Pusha T is a top 50 all-time rap artist. And you know, somebody in the comment section, just let us know, like, where did that originate? Like, who made the original list to where Jim Jones is a little bit upset about? Well, you know, when it comes to like, obviously all that type of stuff is subjective, you know, all that type of stuff about who's a top 50 artist, who's not. A lot of people use different criteria. Some people say like, oh, it should be your impact, it should be your record sales, it should be you know, all these different things, your hits and whatnot, right? And you know, I think we all know that Pusha T is a real dope spitter. I think he has critically acclaimed albums, but surprisingly enough, Pusha T does not have a platinum album. He has Grammy nominated bodies of work, but he has never reached those kind of record sales that you would kind of associate with a top 50 rapper, so to speak. Like I think most of the people that you would put in the top 50, I think a lot of them would have a little bit more in terms of popularity. Now, I think Pusha T is extremely popular, right? But he is still like his sound is still very niche. I think only people that really are into bars and lyricism, I think those are the main people that listen to him. But like, he doesn't have that smash single or anything like that. And now, does that make you a better rapper? No, but that's the thing. When you are judging like who's a better rapper, what are we going off of? Are we going off the pure ability, or are we going off of some type of holistic total package where we're considering everything, like all the different attributes of your ability, plus everything outside of it, like intangible things like impact. Like, like, how do you measure impact? Is it based on sales? Is it based on this, whatever? So I would say though, Jim Jones is just out of pocket for even like poking the bear. You know what I mean? So Jim Jones been poking for months. He been saying stuff, whatever. Well, it finally got on wax, right? We finally got a diss track, right? And so Pusha T, he premieres this song. It was at a Louis Vuitton fashion show. Well, we know Pharrell holds a high position at Louis Vuitton in their design department, right? So he threw this fashion show. So this was like a Louis Vuitton show with a hip hop twist. And you know, they show like these guys walking this runway, and they're playing the song. So off the rip, Pusha T, you know what I mean, his classic cadence, his classic flow. He does a good thing. He does good things with just the way he inflects on things, you know what I mean, and the way he kind of just captures bars. It is definitely captivating. It makes you want to listen, right? And people were listening intently, and people kind of figure like, oh, he's talking about Jim Jones here. He never says his name though, so it is kind of subliminal. And I think obviously when it comes to the lyricism, I think people are like, oh yeah, like Jim Jones, he don't stand a chance, right? So the first thing that Jim Jones does is he basically says that's not a top 50 verse, right? He goes online, he goes live. He's like, that's not a top 50 verse. Well, shortly after that, right? Like, and this was a very quick response. A lot of people were commending that. Jim Jones comes out with his own diss, right? And a lot of people were judging like a snippet of it from a video, and people were saying like, oh yeah, this is not it. Like Jim Jones, he don't stand a chance, whatever. Well, I finally heard it, right? Like it was last week I heard it. It might have been like last Sunday. Like the other Sunday I heard it, and somebody sent it to me, and I was like, oh, I can't wait till I get home, whatever. And yo, I watched it and I was like, oh, Jimmy is not playing with this guy. Jimmy is not playing with Pusha T, whatever. So Jim Jones, he's outside. They do the thing with the mic hanging down. You know what I mean? He's in New York, right? He's outside of like a bodega, a corner store. You know what I mean? And he is like, everything is direct. Everything is direct. And some people might say the bars was light. I thought it was heavy enough. It's heavy enough for Pusha to respond. And that's when it comes to bars, when it comes to hip hop, that's what it is. Like, because we've seen some beefs where like somebody comes at somebody responds, and then it's over because like people feel like, oh, that's not even worthy of responding to. Well, yeah, I mean, the ball is in Pusha T's court, and I don't think that Jim Jones, I don't think he really stands a chance overall. But if this is round one, I'm giving the edge to Jimmy, man. I'm giving the edge to Jimmy. I don't care. It might be East Coast bias. It might be my Dipset bias. He came. I think he exceeded expectations. And it was funny because I was talking to my mans and he was like, yo, that sounds kind of like the way you are kind of giving like Jim Jones all these caveats. It sounds like very remedial. You know what I mean? It sounds very like you giving him like an asterisk, like you giving him a leg up because he's not as good, whatever. And I'm like, well, it is what it is, man. And sometimes that's what battling is. That's what diss tracks are. It's not even about who has the better lyrics, so to speak. It's about who's more direct, who's coming at the other person, who has it's the believability. It's the believability. And when I think about Jim Jones and Pusha T, one comparison that I would have in terms of battle rap would be Geechee Gotti versus Lux. So Lux is Pusha T. Lux is lyrical miracle. Like he can paint pictures with his words, and he is a superb battle rapper in terms of like putting words together, right? Geechee Gotti is hot, right? Now, here's the thing. I would use this as analogy. It's not a direct comparison, but it's analogy. So Jim Jones is Geechee Gotti in this, right? So I think Geechee Gotti is a better battle rapper than Jim Jones is a rapper, so to speak. And I think even Geechee Gotti had a better chance against Lux, which he did win that battle, than Jim Jones necessarily has against Pusha T. But I look at the way Geechee battled Lux. I like that analogy because even though Geechee might not be the most lyrical, right? One, he's hot. Like he's one of the hottest out there, whatever. And he was direct. Like everything that he was saying was hitting. You know what I mean? And it's that believability. Like, you know what I mean? Geechee has that believability. He has that presence. And I think that Jim Jones just came with that presence. Like he made me believe it. I'm like, oh, this is it made me believe that this guy has a chance. Now, again, you got after the track is over, you kind of like, after that excitement, you kind of sober up and you're like, oh man, shit. Like Pusha T still has to, like, Pusha T's still probably gonna respond. And Pusha T don't hold no punches. Like he gets real disrespectful. And we're gonna probably find out the meaning of some of those lyrics. I mean, he talk about, I know where you're delicate, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So it's like, oh, what is he about to say? What is he about to say against Jimmy? Like, so I'm interested to see. I wonder if it's gonna be one of those beefs where like other people get involved, because Pusha T, it was a song with his brother. So like, and I don't know if no malice was necessarily coming at Jim Jones, but you know, we already seen J.R. Ryder talking about he about to jump into a beef if he has to. Um, you know, Cameron chiming in saying like, yo, I don't necessarily, you know, agree with Jim all the way with everything. He was like, but I don't go against the family. He talking about Harlem. He was like, so yeah, I mean, obviously we know that Cameron has his back, but Cameron said he's retired though. So Cameron don't really want the smoke. He's like, I do sports now. He's like, don't include me into the beef. But knowing Pusha T don't hold no punches, man. Pusha T could very easily he could very easily just kind of pull Cameron into it and start some stuff. So we'll see how that goes, man. But what do y'all think, man? What did y'all think about the Jim Jones and Pusha T? And like I said, is this a first round? Is this a preamble? Is this like a warm up? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? When will we get more bars? When will we get more tracks? Will freestyles, whatever. Like, when do you think this is going to take place? And how long do you think before, like I said, we get some new material from both of them? And I guess also comment who you think won that first round, if that is the first round, and who's going to win the war overall. So yeah, well, it's remain to be seen though. So, but yeah, man, let's switch it up though. Let's switch it up. So right now, man, we about to get into the law, man. We about to get into some things. This is a quick headline though. And we see that and this is, I mean, I was happy once I seen this headline. I was like, yo, you know, I don't necessarily do the praise God thing, but I was praising him for this. But it's been ruled that Travis Scott, we're gonna talk about Travis Scott. There are going to be no criminal charges for Travis Scott. And for the Astroworld tragedy, obviously we know that was a terrible thing. It was a scary thing for everyone involved. Unfortunately, you know, 10 people passed away as a result of that tragedy. But Travis Scott will not be facing any criminal charges for that tragedy. So, and you know, one of the things that the DA was saying was like, you know, every tragedy is not a crime and every death is not a homicide. And they basically said that, like, you know, Travis Scott, you know, how that went down, he didn't break any laws in terms of how it appeals to like Texas law. Like he did not commit any crimes. And I think that's a win. That's definitely a win. And I think there's a lot of people that felt like there's no way he was going to get criminally charged. The part that was affecting Travis the most, and probably still will affect the most, is going to be all the civil cases, because that's where the money comes in. But I'm hoping that Travis Scott has, you know, enough insurance. Hopefully these other companies, because Rock Nation is a part of it. Live Nation, my bad. Live Nation is a part of this lawsuit as well. Hopefully there's enough insurance and liability to kind of cover these things. And hopefully, like, you know, just overall, like, performers in general, these concert venues, but also the concert organizers, hopefully we can learn from this incident and basically prevent these type of things from happening. So but yeah, man, again, shout out to Travis Scott. I heard there's a rumor is that Utopia might be coming out in the middle of July. So like, and I feel like that's the thing, like all this stuff, he's been dropping like little loosies here and there, certain tracks. He's all over. Metro Boomin, I commend Metro Boomin. Metro Boomin definitely gave Travis Scott the alley-oop, because on Metro Boomin's last album, Travis Scott is all over that album, and it's like, it's just hot, man. Like Travis, y'all know, man, I'm a big Travis Scott fan, one of my favorite artists, and I've been wanting new music. I've been wanting full music from him. You know, he's on that Don Toliver, and obviously Don Toliver is one of his artists. So yeah, man, it's a good day. It's good that he ain't gonna be facing no jail time. Hopefully, though, you know, these civil cases don't put him under financially to where he cannot recover and cannot be like a full functioning artist. So we'll see what happens with that. But all right, we're gonna hold on real quick, but we're gonna switch it up here. All right, so last week, we saw that the Supreme Court of the United States was wilding last week. Like the Supreme Court was going crazy last week, just with a bunch of different rulings. And we're gonna talk about some of the laws that have been passed, some of the measures that have gone by, and we're gonna have a little bit of a just a conversation trying to maybe debunk certain things. But there were like three different rulings last week. We're gonna focus on two of them, right? And one kind of applies to last week's full episode. So the first one that we're gonna talk about is how the Supreme Court has ruled to block affirmative action as it applies to college admissions, right? And in this lawsuit was named Harvard and UNC. So just to kind of backtrack, and you know what, I seen this coming though. I knew this was coming because shout out to Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I mean, he has this channel Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. And he had this guy on there that wrote this novel called, or this book called, The Inconvenient Minority. And it was this Asian man who was making this case that 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 laws like affirmative action are racist against Asian people. And there's a coalition. There's a lot of people that feel like when it comes to the admission process, Asian applicants get overlooked, and that Black people and even Latino people get preferential treatment when it comes to admissions into these prestigious universities, right? So here's the thing, right? So it makes you think like, dang, how does something like that even get to the Supreme Court? Well, what happens is this: like you started some type of civil suit, whatever, and if you lose, you have the ability to I guess appeal it and then go to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court, they see like 7,000, 8,000 cases like a year, so to speak. And some of them are small, right? Some of them are criminal, but then the ones that I think that sometimes get their eye are some of these civil suits, and they decide they get to look at these cases, and they decide like, this might have national relevance, and if it does, maybe we're gonna focus on this. But when I seen that first thing, when I was telling you I was watching Indisputable, I was just thinking like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even know, I didn't know this was an apparent issue, right? But apparently it is. And but also too, when I watched that report, I'm thinking like, there's no way that the Supreme Court was gonna see the case. And I definitely didn't think that it would have the implications that it would have, right? So but yeah, let's first, and I want to share the screen with you because I want y'all to get, we're gonna pull to like a little news report, and we're gonna get the official ruling, right? And this is from Chief Justice Roberts, and he's gonna kind of, and they're basically gonna read off like what it actually says in terms of blocking affirmative action, and why they feel like it's unconstitutional or why it's illegal. So because I'm gonna save some of my stuff, my opinions, for later, but we're gonna get some facts here. So let's share the screen here. All right. And this is from CBS News. Okay. All right. So let's check this out real quick. All right.
Quote, Harvard's and UNC's, meaning University of North Carolina's, admissions programs violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This opinion goes on to say, in part, eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. Essentially what the court has ruled, 6-3 in the University of North Carolina case, 6-2 in the Harvard case, because Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson recused herself because of her ties to Harvard, but 6-2, 6-3. The court has said that these admission policies, which do not include set-asides or numerical quotas, but they do consider race, among many other considerations in the admissions process, is impermissible because the value of diversity, the court has argued, isn't enough to justify the harms done to other students, equally or possibly better qualified, applying to those institutions. This will have wide-ranging effects across American higher education. Many colleges across the country have been bracing for this opinion, trying to figure out how in the admissions process going forward they can create a diverse campus and collection of students in their student body, which is not only of value to incoming students, but many of their parents, without considering race. Well, the Supreme Court has now said you cannot consider race in any way, shape, or form, and if you do, you'll be violating this ruling and the U.S. Constitution. There was a case back in 2003, Grutter versus Bollinger, in which then Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said 25 years from now, this court rules that America will no longer need affirmative action. That case aged to 20 last week. So 5 years earlier than Sandra Day O'Connor predicted, the Supreme Court has invalidated, it appears once and for all, using race in any means whatsoever in evaluating someone's admissions to a college or university in America. Gail?
All right. So basically saying they're saying that this affirmative action violates the 14th Amendment, which is an equal protections law. Now, the reason, and they kind of get into like what affirmative action has done. There's a lot of controversy behind affirmative action. And again, I said there's ties to last week's episode when I talked to Brianna Embry Banks, and we was talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And obviously, affirmative action is not necessarily DEI, but it's related. Like there's a relation there. And obviously then, posting stuff, whatever, in the comment sections, people are like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, they should never consider race. That is racist. Even Chief Justice Roberts, he went on to say that diversity is discrimination, right? So trying to create a diverse campus is discrimination, especially if you can prove that like there were other candidates maybe that weren't as qualified, if they got picked because of maybe they want to put more Black people in there, they want to put more Latino people in there, if you can prove that those people aren't qualified and things like that, then that's obviously discrimination. And here's the thing, it's not necessarily a fight against, I think a lot of people too probably believe that this is like necessarily like white people going against Black people. It's actually minorities, like it's Asian people. They're the ones who have kind of or at least coalitions of Asian people, and they're the face of this lawsuit, saying that they have been denied access to these universities because they are Asian, so to speak. And I don't know, man, because then I started reading into this type of stuff, and I am gonna read like a little excerpt from an article from NPR that talks about, what is it talking? Here it is. What is? I'm not gonna quite pull it up quite yet, but the article is called "Affirmative Action Divided Asian Americans and Other People of Color. Here's How," right? And I'm gonna read like a little bit of an excerpt there, but the idea though, and the people that argue against affirmative action, is just this idea that, oh my God, they're letting people that are not qualified to be at these schools right? And that's far from the case, right? Affirmative action, essentially, especially when it comes to the admission process of schools, what it does is it just kind of creates more of an opportunity, because when you think about the college experience is not just, it's not just numbers on a piece of paper and test scores and things like that. Like, colleges want to admit, they're admitting people, they're admitting human beings into their colleges, right? That are going to be having intellectual conversations, that are going to be kind of driving how students interact with one another. And if a university overwhelmingly looks like a certain way, like a racial demographic, it definitely can alienate the people that are like a smaller minority. It can make them feel uncomfortable. It can make them feel not included. It can make and if you get into Harvard, period, even if affirmative action was a measure, all those people are qualified to go to Harvard, right? They're not letting. I think there's this myth that like, oh yeah, they let in this B student or this C student. No, everybody that gets to Harvard had astounding scores, right? They had great test scores. Maybe they didn't have access to pay for the application. So a lot of times, like, people would recruit these people, like these people would get recruited. Like the journalist from MSNBC, Joy Reid, like, she talks about her experiences of being recruited to go to Harvard, because otherwise, like, nobody would have you know, she's from Denver, Colorado. Like she probably didn't even look at Harvard as an option because of the cost, you know, how far it is and things like that. But like there are certain ways that where like these people are kind of getting recruited. And there's a lot of like, I guess in this lawsuit, there's a lot of Asian people that feel like, oh yeah, they're picking them because they're black or whatever, so to speak. Let me real quick, I'm gonna pause this real quick, and then I'm gonna fast forward this video, this report, to see kind of what other implications this has, and then we'll read this like excerpt. Oh, again, share the screen again, and let's hear this out real quick.
Joining us now is CBS News legal contributor, that's Jessica Levinson. Jessica, what exactly does this mean for how schools will admit students now?
So exactly as Major indicated, it means that you cannot explicitly use race as a factor in admissions. So we already know that colleges and universities have planned ways to essentially try to still get diverse student bodies while not explicitly using race. So we might see colleges and universities put more weight, for instance, on where did you grow up? Do your parents have graduate degrees? What zip code did you grow up in? But colleges and universities throughout the country, this applies to all private and public universities and colleges, cannot explicitly use race when they're making a decision about who to admit.
Now, we heard them say that they believe that it violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Can you just sort of break it down exactly what that means, that it violated it how?
So the 14th Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause says that everybody is entitled to equal protection under the law. And we know since the drafting of the 14th Amendment, that is meant to prevent invidious racial discrimination. And the question for the court really was, can taking race into account comply with the command from the 14th Amendment that we don't discriminate on the basis of race? What does equality really mean? And today the court said, Chief Justice John Roberts, in language that absolutely echoes other lines we've heard, the way to end racial discrimination is to stop taking race into account, essentially. This is very different from the view that the liberal justices have and Justice Jackson had. And she has a lengthy dissent explaining why equal protection allows the government, allows private colleges to say, we will take race into account in order to try and get to a place of equality.
So yeah, that's the thing. If you are trying to get, so that's where like I feel like it's like a circular argument a little bit or whatever, because to get diversity and to get racial equality, you essentially have to consider race, so to speak, because then you realize like there's some disparities, whatever. Again, they're not admitting people that are not qualified, whatever, but they're just looking at the whole picture, so to speak, right? They're looking at it like, oh, well, let's look at our student body, and it's like, dang, like there ain't enough brothers and sisters here, man. There ain't enough, you know, poppies and chicas here, man. There's not enough. There's not a, you know, senors and senoritas here, man. Like we need more, a little bit more flavor, because we don't want our school to just be one way. Like we don't want it to be one way. Now, what I was going to read here was just this idea of how this was debunked. So again, there's this NPR article that's titled, and I'll put a link on the bottom here. It says affirmative action divided Asian Americans and other people of color. Here's how, right? And this is brand new. This is from July 2nd, so to speak. So there's a quote in there that talks about basically the narrative that has been spread, right? And it's this narrative that, like, you know, they're admitting people of that black and Latino communities, and that they're not qualified. So it says here, there's a common narrative that Black and Latino students who were admitted into schools like Harvard and University of North Carolina are not qualified, not ready to succeed in college. It says, quote, and this was from a man named Jeff Wang. He's a part of like this coalition that is against affirmative action. He says, we cannot deny that, because we see that African-American and Latino students, their graduation rates are lower because they are not fully prepared. That's what he says, quote. However, there's a debunk for that. There's some stats. It says, but according to the U.S. Department of Education, in 2021, Black Harvard students had a 96% graduation rate, the same graduation rate that male students of all races had. And it says Hispanic students, the rate that same year was 97%, the same as white students. It says at the University of North Carolina, the graduation rate was 85% for Black students, 91% for Latinos, 92% for white students, and 94% for Asian Americans. However, it says a recent Gallup poll found that Black and Latino students are more at risk for dropping out not because they're not capable or prepared. And it says here, they leave because they are caretakers for children, parents, and other family members. Then there is the issue of money, okay? And the burdens of student debt. Another reason many students of color can feel psychologically unsafe. Majority white campuses can be isolating and even toxic to underrepresented students, something that the likely drop in Black and Latino students post affirmative action will only make worse, says Sally Chen. All right. So yeah, so there's it's a myth. It's a myth that, especially at least at Harvard, there's a myth that, like, Black students, they're being admitted and they're not fully qualified, right? And I think a lot of those stats kind of debunk it, but like, yeah, it makes you think about certain things like that, like certain students, even if they don't take race in consideration, if they talk about like my household or where I grew up and things like that, you're gonna see that, like, if a student has need, I mean, surprisingly enough, right, we're going to see that, like, unfortunately, a lot of times the students that have certain needs are going to be from Black and Latino communities, because there's all type of other barriers and obstacles that are in the way. So it's not, yes, if you get into college, it should be based on your merit. However, we're talking about a student body. We're talking about people that are going to be interacting with one another, and nobody is numbers on a piece of paper. And that's not how, I don't think that's how colleges should admit people, right? So, but there is a lawsuit now, because then a lot of people are saying, well, what about like legacy students, right? Because legacy students make up like 70% of Harvard's student body, right? So when we say legacy admissions, they're not a measure of merit either. So a legacy student is basically like if your parents graduated from Harvard or graduated from any type of university, and the kid of that graduate, they have a higher chance of getting accepted, so to speak, right? So it says a Boston-based nonprofit, Lawyers for Civil Rights, filed a lawsuit against Harvard University over the matter on Monday, July 3rd, on behalf of Black and Latino communities in the area. The nonprofit points out that 70% of Harvard's legacy and donor-related applicants are white. Says, for context, legacy admissions give priority to families of alumni who have historically been overwhelmingly white. Says, per the lawsuit, Harvard's acceptance rate for legacy applicants between 2014 and 2019 was almost 6 times higher than the acceptance rate for non-legacy applicants. And says, as a result, the group acknowledges that removing legacy preferences would increase admissions for applicants of color. Says approximately 1/4 of the white students admitted would not have been admitted if the donor and legacy purposes, among others, did not exist. So like, yeah, so they're saying, like, that's another argument. It's like, well, yeah, you're kind of giving affirmative action and you're giving a leg up, for people that are legacies, or if their parents went to these universities. But like, how is that fair? The only pushback I would have against that is the fact that, like, if you are a legacy kid, right? If your parents went to Harvard, if your parents went to UNC, they probably have great jobs, to where they probably have great careers, to the fact that, like, they probably can afford to pay for it. So at the end of the day, Harvard still is it's still a college, it still is a business, whatever. And I think that, I think that if you can pay your way, I think you still can. Yeah, I mean, just like a lot of schools, if you can pay your way, a lot of times you can still get in. Now, that might not be always the case. However, these kids are being admitted because their parents can pay their way, so to speak. And a lot of people note that, like, there's a lot of legacy kids that are definitely not qualified to be there. Just because your parents donate money to the university, and just because you can pay your way, that doesn't necessarily mean you're qualified. So we'll see where that goes. But and then another thing that the Supreme Court did, and this one hits close to home, man. This one's personal for me a little bit. But yeah, man, they blocked student loan forgiveness, and basically it was pretty clear cut. They basically said that when President Joe Biden, the HEROES Act, and that was something that President Trump passed, and you know, that's when they basically, you know, they were like deferring our payments, college loan payments and things like that. They're saying that we don't have to pay it right away because of the pandemic and things like that. Well, obviously Joe Biden extended that, right? He extended the HEROES Act, and the Supreme Court is saying that that is legal. Like, that was cool. Like, he can extend it, whatever, but forgiving the debt is not a part of that law, and that he was overstepping his power. The Biden administration is saying that, like, you know, they're going to keep fighting for it, but you know, it was kind of to be expected a little bit, just because, like, you know, you know, when it comes to like actually helping people, you know, in America, you know, I just feel like, you know, a lot of times these laws don't necessarily help the majority of people. Now, this law, if they would have passed student loan forgiveness, it would have helped 40 million Americans. And you know, when you think about the price tag of it, when you think about what we spend on everything else, right? And they do a lot of like you know, economic charts and analysis of these different things. It would have been billions of dollars, but that's still like a drop in the bucket compared to what we spend on defense, you know, what we have given to another country, to other countries, for humanitarian help and for war efforts and things like that. Like it's a drop in the bucket. And this is something that it doesn't just impact like one party of Americans. It affects America. And it you know, maybe they look at that as like a form of affirmative action, because it's like, nah, like we can't forgive the debt, so to speak. You know, who cares? Like, you know, and that's what a lot of people that were arguing against it, they're like, yeah, well, if you took out a loan, and then you should have to pay it back. Like, why should I have to pay it back? But I'm thinking, like, you know, but y'all don't say nothing when we giving billions of dollars to the Ukraine, whatever, and y'all keep arguing about taxes. Well, where do you think that money's coming from? That money's still coming from our taxes, whatever. Again, if the debt ceiling, if the debt is relieved, right, it's impacting 40 million Americans. Like, that's a large portion of the country, right? That's a large portion of the country. And it will, you know, again, I feel like that affects the economy in a positive way. And hopefully I'm gonna play a comedy bit, whatever, that kind of just gets into like just this idea of like all these things that we argue about, and like how we talk about wealth disparity and things like that. Like, we make all this stuff up anyway. So like, why can't we just help people out? Like why does it have to be this, or why doesn't it have to be that? But I'm gonna play that a little bit later. But my last thing on this Supreme Court stuff is that I don't know about y'all, but I just don't feel that it's fair. Let me rephrase that. I don't think that it's just. I don't think that it's just that, like, that even though it's an elected position, I don't think that it's a form of justice that the way the Supreme Court is based on political lines, right? It's based on party lines. And we keep hearing these conversations of, oh yeah, the 6-3 conservative majority of the Supreme Court. And I'm thinking, like, all right, this is the highest court of the land, right? And again, even though it's an elected, no, this is not even elected. So here's the thing. When you talk about the lower courts and things like that, those are elected positions. Like, if you talk about like a district judge, or, you know, county judge, you know, like state judge, like those are elected positions, and those people like hold like political parties. However, if those people ruled on cases based off of the criminal being the opposite political party, whatever, we would look at that as like, yo, that's not even justice, whatever. So like, since these are people that are appointed, right? Obviously, they're appointed by a certain president. I don't think that they shouldn't be ruling on things based off of their political ideologies. I think they should be ruling on things based off of, I think they should kind of use like public opinion a little bit. You know, what do the people want? Overwhelmingly, people wanted you know, loan forgiveness, right? Despite, you know, what the people appointed them to be. I just don't think it's not right for every different, you know, decision to be made via the Supreme Court is going to be based off of what a certain political party believes in, like what is right, what is justice in terms of certain things, right? So I don't know, it just doesn't seem real. It just seems like it's rigged. It seems like a rigged system. We already know like how that works, where certain presidents get to, you know, you get to appoint certain judges. We know that, you know, Donald Trump got 3. I think he was able to appoint 3. And one of them they kind of stole from Barack Obama. Like they didn't let Barack Obama, they didn't let him appoint his last judge, which would have been, I think it was Merrick Garland. And you know, Trump basically was able to slip another one in there. And well, one, he was able to slip one in before like it was even, you know, he was even fully like into his presidency, whatever. So like, but I just think like, you know, again, if you want to have something that's, because justice is supposed to be non-biased, it's supposed to be, you know, no opinions, whatever. Like it should just be based on like precedent. It should be kind of maybe based off of what the people want. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it seems like a rigged system. If you know everything, you know, obviously certain parties believe in certain things over other parties, right? Like we already have that in Congress. We already have that in the Senate, right? Why do we have that in the highest court, right? These people should be the most objective people possible. But again, you know, you get reports about, you know, these judges being flown out by lobbyists and things like that. So it's just like it's so crooked, man. And like, you know, we talk about like the system and things like that and how it's rigged, and it's just another example of that, man. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But like real quick, I'm gonna play this comedy bit here based off of kind of what we're talking about right now. And just in the sense of like, yo, we're making things up. We're making things up as we go, but we still have an issue with how things go. Like, and here's there's a comedian that kind of solves all the economic problems just with this simple solution. But I'm gonna play this real quick because I think it's hilarious and it just fits. It fits what we're talking about right now. Here we go.
How we made almost everything up and it still sucks? Isn't that crazy? Like, you know, they turn the stock market off every night and they turn it back on every morning. And they're like, we're in a bubble. It's gonna burst. It's bound to happen any day now. It's like, then leave it off.
Leave it off. Leave it off.
What the f are you doing turning it back off? Today might be the day. Idiots. They're like, the dollar's down, the economy's. It's like, why don't we just say it's not? How's that sound? Right? They're like, these people have all the money. These people have no money. It's like, print more, give it to them. They go, we can't, it will devalue the currency. Just say it doesn't. Everything is made up. Let's make it more fun. Let's base interest rates on how interesting you are as an individual.
That's funny.
Right? You show up to a bank, you do a backflip, they're like, you got a mortgage. Anything else? You do a handstand, they're like, your student debts are forgiven.
Shout out to this guy, man, Pat Burtscher. Pat Burtscher. Yeah. So yeah, we'll kind of fix that up a little bit, man, in post. But yeah, man, like a lot of this stuff is made up. The laws are made up. The laws are made up. You know, the economy is made up. The dollar is made up. Like why can't we? You know, why don't we fix certain things? But we know why, man. We know why. So that's enough with that, man. Last thing I wanted to talk about, and this TV show. And oh my god, I'm hyped right now. I'm about to get like real swole and real hype right now. You know what I'm saying? So I seen a documentary, right? And this is a cheat code for me. Like if you give me a documentary about something from my childhood, right? Particularly like a TV show or something that I love, like I'm all in. I'm like, yo, or something that I was curious about or whatever. So have y'all seen, right? I don't know, have y'all seen this yet, but have y'all seen Muscles and Mayhem? Muscles and Mayhem is on Netflix. It is the unauthorized story of the American Gladiators. Now, when I seen that, I said, what? I said, what? Whoa, what? They about to do a documentary on the American Gladiators, and for right off the rip, I'm like, yo, I was like, I used to watch that show all the time. Like, oh my god, like, yo, fan, like, yo, when, y'all say everything had you on a chokehold. When I was a kid, the American Gladiators had me in a chokehold. Like, yo, I wanted to be a contestant. I wanted to be in the audience. I wanted to be an American Gladiator, like if I could, whatever. Like, that was the best show on TV. And it like, I feel like just stuff from American Gladiators spawned other shows that I like. One of my favorite shows on Nickelodeon was Guts, right? Like, Do You Have Guts, right? With Mark O'Malley. He was the he was the host of that. And basically that was like the kid version of American Gladiators. Now, you weren't going against a gladiator, you weren't going against anybody, but it was, American Gladiators was the greatest show of all time, because you had these regular ass people going against these like giant behemoth, like, physically fit bodybuilders and athletes and things like that. And right off the bat, I was like, yo, my favorite dude was Nitro. Like, they all of them had the best names, whatever. Like, all of those guys could be like, they could be wrestlers for real. So like, wrestling had me in chokehold, but also American Gladiators had me in a chokehold, because this is what it felt like. It felt like, yo, this is what it could be like if a regular person could jump into the ring with a wrestler. Like, that's what the American Gladiators was. It was the regular person getting involved and being part of the action, right? And so, yo, they have it's a 5-part documentary on the American Gladiators. And again, I remember some names, whatever. Like, it was, and this is what they need to do for I will watch. I don't care. I would, even if it's for a limited time, I would pay any streaming service right now, whatever dollar amount, if I could watch all the episodes of the American Gladiators. So please, somebody get it done. I don't care if it's Hulu, Amazon Prime, if it's Paramount Plus, if it's a platform that I don't have and I don't pay for, I will pay any amount of money to watch all the episodes of the American Gladiators. And I'm canceling right after I watch it all. I'm canceling. Now, obviously, this stuff is dated. It's a game show, essentially, right? And if you're not familiar with the American Gladiators, basically what they would do is, right, they would have a regular Joe person that was athletic, though, like somebody that that got some skills, and they would go against these bodybuilders or these like ultimate athletes in all these different challenges, right? And the best game was the Eliminator. Like, that was like the final challenge. And basically, you were going through this obstacle course, and like the gladiators are sitting on top of this tower, right? And they're trying to hit you with tennis balls and stuff like that. And you're trying to see if you can, one, get through the obstacle course without getting hit. And obviously, like, these people will win money. These, like, if you won, you got money. And then like the contenders had opportunities to like shoot a target and to like basically like stop their gun or something like that, and so they could like easily get through the course. Yo, like, it was, oh my god, there were so many cool different events. There was this event like the human joust. So like, if you go to any type of like trampoline park and they have like they have the jousting, whatever, that come and you're like on a platform or you're on something, that comes from American Gladiators. Like, that's an American Gladiator game. They had this game where like you would get into this like metal big old metal ball, whatever, and you would roll around and trying to basically get into like into these little pods to score some points. They had this event called like Powerball or something like that, where it was kind of like football and rugby mixed, and you had to like try to juke out these gladiators and use your strength to basically put these like a small ball or something like that into like a goal, so to speak. Like, it was, oh my god, they had John where they hanging on the rings and like fighting each other. Like, they had, oh my god, like, it was the best show ever. But yo, this, like, the documentary was so eye-opening, right? And obviously, like, because you don't know, like, you just think, like, when you're watching a show like that, you're just thinking, like, man, this, like, what an amazing job, like, to do, like, how fun this would be. And so they talked about a lot of different things. So one, they talked about, like, just the creation of the show. And oh my God, they get into, like, how, like, the first version of it was, like, really, like, makeshift and, like, ass, like the set was ass. The even the people that they had as gladiators weren't even, like, necessarily qualified or ready to go, so to speak. And they just had all these safety concerns. Like, they didn't even have this for, like, they just threw out this idea to, like, yo, let's just do this. And they didn't even consider the fact that, like, yo, people could really get hurt. Like, they was doing these events on concrete. They was doing these events on concrete until they got, like, like, new producers that changed the sets and stuff like that, and was like, yo, we need padding here. We need the contenders to wear certain kind of equipment. We need the gladiators to have equipment. Like, yo, they didn't even have medical staff on deck. Like, so, like, these people were, like, separating their shoulders and bleeding and all type of stuff. And the beginning of it, when they first started, they didn't even have none of that. They had no medical staff, and, like, regular people were getting hurt. They talked about how, like, they had to recast the show. That was a big thing. And oh my God, like all the people that they kind of all the people that they kind of recruited. And it started with six. There was only 6 gladiators. By the time, like, the show grew and it was into something, there was probably, like, almost, like, like 16 to 20 gladiators. And the thing is, the original 6, they had to do all the shows, they had to do all the challenges, whatever. And these people would get hurt too. Just because they're strong don't mean that, like, physically they don't get hurt. So, like, they talked about the recasting of it, the expansion of it. Oh my God, they talked about all the merchandising, like, and how there was, like, a lot of, like, toys and lunchbox. Like, there was all types of merchandise based on American Gladiators, and how the gladiators weren't even getting paid. Like, they didn't get no cut of that. Even like, on a per show basis, these guys were making, like, these people just wanted to, like, an opportunity to be on TV. What I mean? Like, a lot of these people were former bodybuilders, some were, like, models and stuff like that. And they just wanted an opportunity. But, like, they were getting paid pennies, yo. Like, they were jerking them out of money. Like, that was crazy. They talked about, oh my God, they talked about the steroids. And here's the thing: in the 90s, steroids, we knew steroids were bad. We knew that it was not good for you. Baseball, steroids was flagrant in baseball, right? It was, but it was allowed. Like, it was on a hush hush. It was kind of allowed. And, like, oh my God, like, these people, like I said, they're bodybuilders and stuff like that. All these people was on steroids, and they talked about, like, hiding it. They talked about smuggling steroids in. They talked about, man, they had this time where they was on, like, a national tour. It was, like, on a 100 city tour, and, like, just, they talk about all like the ins and outs, and how bad things got, and how crazy it got. The drug, like, these people were, like, drugs, the sex, like, it was crazy. It was mayhem. And even just this idea of, like, when it first started, the contenders would often, a lot of times, would be, like, the size of gladiators, right? Like, they would be just, like, so it didn't feel like, and the gladiators didn't like going against these people, so to speak, because they were, like, people that were just as big as them. Then what they did was they decided to, like, employ a method where it was more like a David versus Goliath type of deal. And that's when you started having, like, they were athletic people, but that's when you start having, like, small, like, it was smaller people that was going against these gladiators, and it just seemed more realistic because it seemed more believable. Like, you would have somebody that's, like, a bus driver or a teacher, or, oh, this guy's a doctor, oh, this guy's like, it would just be, like, a banker. Like, it would be, like, regular ass people that had, like, a little bit of athleticism. They would be going against the gladiators, and that's, by the time I'm watching it, like, that's what I saw. Like, I saw these regular people going against these, and I was like, yo, I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to go on the eliminator. Like, I think I could do that. And it just talks about, like, and when you think about all these different shows that have derived since the gladiators, that have some remnants of it, But like where that stuff comes from. You think about the dumb show Wipeout. You think about American Ninja Warrior. You think about all these different things where there's like some type of obstacle course. That is American Gladiators is the father of all those shows in terms of concept. And yo, it was, oh my God, like the documentary is dope, man. Like if you remember, like again, Nitro was my favorite guy. I liked Blaze. That was my girl, this black woman. She was like, she looked amazing, but she was like physically fit. Like she was, I remember Laser was cool. They had this dude named Turbo. They had the women on there. Ice was like, she was like one of the most iconic women on there. Her and Blaze were some of the most iconic ones. And it was just such a trip down memory lane. And if you ever watched American Gladiators, or if you don't even know what the heck I'm talking about, like if you're too young, this ran for 7 seasons. It went from like 89 to 96, right? And if you don't even know what I'm talking about, if you wasn't even born, you know what I mean? Because I know I have some people in the audience that wasn't necessarily born when this was out. Check out that documentary. It's called Muscles and Mayhem on Netflix. I highly recommend it. And again, if anybody, please, in the comment section, if you can figure out, or maybe we can publish, like obviously this is publicized, but if we can make this bigger, if y'all could find me if y'all find me a place where I could stream all the episodes of the American Gladiators, I'm doing that right now. Like that's what the rest of my summer is gonna be. Like I'm gonna dedicate it to watching American Gladiators, and I cannot wait. But oh my God, I was so hyped. Oh my God, that was an awesome experience watching that documentary. And a lot of the episodes are like 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. They're not like, some of them are longer than others, but it's not super long. Again, it's only 5 episodes, and it's definitely gonna be a trip down memory lane, man. Definitely a trip down memory lane. So, what y'all think, man? What y'all think about this week's episode, man? How y'all feel about the climate of the country, man? These laws. What's next? That's the thing, and this is one thing I did not touch on, but with the ending of affirmative action in admissions of colleges, what raises big concerns for people is the fact that, like, yo, what if this type of stuff happens in the workplace, right? What if everybody's like an equal opportunity employer, so to speak, right? Like that's like law, like you got to have that, and you like, what if protections like that end? You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like we're going down a slippery slope, man, with some of these things. And I think there's a lot of false narratives just being thrown around there, as we saw, like, as I ran through the stats, whatever. A lot of this stuff is about people feel like people are underqualified and they're getting preferential treatment, and it's not that at all, man. It's just, again, it's just kind of opening the door. That's all affirmative action does. You still got to be qualified, but it opens closed doors, man. Because a lot of times, man, these doors are closed. And the thing is, affirmative action, it helps everybody. It helps people of all races. That's what it's supposed to, people of different genders and things like that. It's not just a black people law. It's not a law to only help out black people. It's a law to help out everybody, so we can ensure so the workplace, our colleges look like what the country looks like. We don't have these, all these uniform institutions where everybody looks the same. Like who wants to go to a school like that? Who wants to work in an environment like that? But what y'all think about this week's episode, man? What y'all think, man? I need y'all to leave a comment down in the comment section, man. I need y'all to hit the like button. I need y'all subscribing, man. We got some dope guests, man, coming up. I'm doing something with Journeyman Chronicles, Felix C. Arroyo. I'm doing an episode with him. We still got to, kind of iron out the details of what we're going to talk about. I got some stuff in the works, man. I got some people that I want to really get into some conversations with. Just some people that are doing some real dope things. And yeah, man, it's the summertime, man. We gonna continue pumping out this content. You might get some bonus content like you did with the recap of the BET Awards. And yeah, man, we just rocking out. But again, man, if you're still rocking with me, you're still watching this episode, you know what to do, man. Share the content, man. Share it with somebody. And yo, This is another episode of the Tweety Plus podcast, y'all. I'm out.